So in this video, we're going to look at the Octatrack and we're going to load in some samples and just make some beats and play with the glitching. If you hold down Function, press Project, go to Change, and then press Yes, and go all the way to the top. Let's create a new project. Now that we have a new project, I'm going to go to Track 1 here. Now we double press it. Right now we're in static mode. Okay, so there's a static machine and a flex machine. So static machine is to read or stream directly from the card. So if you have a fast card that's in here, it probably won't matter too much. That's for longer samples normally. Flex runs it, the samples into the RAM. You have about, I think, 84 megabytes of RAM that it can play from. So I'm just going to use static just because. So we're going to press the right arrow here and we'll see a bunch of slots. You can load samples into each slot and you can go all the way down here. We actually can work with 128 different slots to put samples in. So before we do that, let's go back into the project view, Function, Project. So go to System and then go over to USB disk mode. We're going to go into there. Now what we can do is this is plugged into a USB into your computer. You can actually use it as a disk drive. So in other words, you can drag and drop folders the way you want your samples to be arranged and just pop them on there. Now once you have everything on your card that you want, we can actually go back into here and let's just start loading. So this is how it works. So you just press enter. It's going to show all of the folders under that project. Normally you just go to the audio folder here. That's where you want to put most of your samples when you're in the USB disk mode. So I have tons of different samples, ones that I have purchased as well as just free ones from different drum machines. So I'm just going to go into this directory 707, and what you can do is you can actually see all the files here. If you hold down Function and press enter, you can actually hear the sample. So let's just start off with the kick drum. So here's what you can do. Function, arrow down, and then we can go to slots. What that's going to do is actually enable it so that whenever you press these buttons here, it's going to be aligned to whatever slot you load the sample in. So it's kind of a way to trigger it. So let's go back into here. Let's access, say, a snare drum next. So we're just going to go down and look for one. Now if you need to move fast through the menu, hold down Function and then go arrow down or up, and you can actually load things quicker. So I'm going to load the snare into 2. What I'm going to do is just load a couple more. Closed hi-hat and open hi-hat. We have track 1, okay? So let's exit this mode here. I'm just going to press record. Now we have 16 steps, and if you enter in triggers right here and then press play, it's just going to play what we had assigned to that track. It's on the kick drum. So if you want to change one of these to a different sample, you just hold it down and turn the level knob. And now we'll have a list here of the different samples. So I want that to be a snare, and then we'll hold down this one and turn that to be a snare. And let's add one here, and that's going to be the kick drum. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Now what I want to do is clear this pattern. So since we're in this mode and we're looking and we see that in record mode, hold Function, press clear, that clears the pattern. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to turn off that mode. Okay. What I want to do first is set a hi-hat. That way we're going to be able to hear the beat. So let's go back into this mode. We're going to go to track 2. Now track 2, we're going to assign that to the closed hi-hat. And let's exit. And now I'm just going to insert every other step a hi-hat. That way we'll have like a nice beat. Okay. Now we go to this track, which I have this assigned. So let's actually turn that down. If I want to turn it down, I'm going to track 2, turn down the level. Okay, so all we have to do now is you hold down record and press play, and now we're seeing the steps go through. And what you can do is just, while this is doing this, it's going to live record whatever we play on here. So I'm just going to play a simple beat over this. Okay, so that was pretty easy. When you press record or stop or anything like that, it's going to turn off that blinking. When that blinking is off, then it's not going to be recording anything. So if you wanted to like perform over it, you can do that as well. So here's the thing. Each track can only play one sample at a time. And so you can just keep loading different tracks with different samples, different combinations. You can do a whole lot more than what I'm showing you here. So that's how to set down a beat. Now once we have the beat in here, now let's just play around with mangling it. So I'm just going to press play, just hear the standard beat. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to we're on playback mode here. So we're going to look at these settings here, and they just match over to these knobs. Now if you want to turn something, okay, this is retrigger. So what that tells it is every time it hits a trigger, when this is set, it will re-trigger it that many times. So if we want it to play 11 times when it hits that one, let's hold it down. We'll turn it up to 11 and make sure that this is set to 1. Now we're going to press play. Now you can hear it do that. So here's the thing. What's really cool is if you change our time, which is this one, it's going to change the rate that it's re-triggering. So what I'm going to do, let's just turn this up a little, and I'm going to just change this our time here. I'm going to press play. So if you kind of mess with those two knobs right there, you can do a lot of different crazy effects. So let's say we want to record that. It's that same mode. Hold down record, press play, and then we can just turn these knobs. And then what I performed is now recorded. And you can see each of these lights that are green as opposed to red are called parameter locks. So what you can do is hold down function and press a trigger. You'll see it's that same green color. Then you hold that down and then make the change that you want. Now, just so you're aware, these knobs you can push down. So to make big changes, you just hold down the knob and turn it. And that's just one of the effects that we can do to kind of glitch out the sound. So what I'm going to do now is go to track 2, which is the hi-hat, and let's just play around with, say, pitch. So I'm going to press play. Let's actually mute track 1 so we can just hear this. Let's hold down record, press play, which enables this live record mode. And you can hear all those changes I just made. Now down here is rate. What this does, it can go in a positive or negative. So if I'm in the positive, it plays at a certain pitch. If you go into the negative, it actually reverses it. So if I just switch that back and forth and record it, so we can make a lot of different crazy sounds using that, and then moving these. So let's say I want to reverse these changes that I made. So just make sure we're in that mode. Hold down function no and press down the knob. And as you can see, you just hold it down. It kind of is like holding down an eraser. So function no, let's change this one too. That's going to erase all that changes too that we did. So we can mess around with the amp settings, the LFO, the effects, all sorts of different things per each step that you add. Let's say we want to get rid of all this. I'm just going to go into each setting, hold down function and play, which is clear and red, and that just clears everything. What we're going to do now is go in here. I'm going to turn off this mode. Okay, so we're just going to go into here, and just make a quick little beat again. So what we're going to do now is just add 3 triggers here. I'm going to make them snares. Now what we can do with this is hold it down and press right. Now what that's going to do is open micro timing. You can change right here. If you turn level, you'll see trigger condition. Okay, so you can bring it up in percentages. So you can say I want to hit that 25% of the time, and then we can go over here, press right arrow, and then change this one to, let's say, 41. Let's do this one. We'll change that to 59. So now if I press play, you're going to hear it's what it kind of does is it's like rolling dice for each one, and we just told it pretty much what the percentage would be of chance for it hitting. So let's add some more. I'm going to add that snare here. Make that a low percentage. So you can see the low percentage one is barely hit. And this one's kind of low too. So you're probably not going to hear that being hit too many times. So let's bring it up a little and bring it to 50. Let's just make all these kicks here. Let's do the same with conditional. So every time it plays through, it's going to be a different beat.